So today's question is, if quiet quitting is really bad for businesses and your career. Quiet quitting has been one of the most interesting takes on how to go about your life in the workspace. It blew up right when people started to get right back into their feet after the spike of COVID. But maybe first of all, what is even quiet quitting? Quiet quitting is doing only the minimum requirements of your job. You don't need to put in any effort or show any enthusiasm. You simply do your job as you're supposed to. In a way, it's kind of misleading as you are not really quitting your job and you still get paid. No, there's a lot to be said about quiet quitting. There's no denying that it's a byproduct of the pandemic and a reflection of how people have lost their jobs during the C-19. Although we are slowly rising back to get the economy back on track, the phenomenon of quiet quitting has definitely had an effect not only on people's lives, it reflects as well socially and economically. Let's dive first into the economics of quiet quitting. Data and statistics from the government show a drop in productivity over the last 2 quarters. There could be a variety of reasons for this, including a record rate of job switching, business hiring decisions during an unusual period for the economy, scars from the pandemic, growing pains from the widespread adoption of remote work, and so on. However, some argue that factors such as quiet quitting may have played a role. Much of the sentiments from corporate America would be that their employees aren't being productive enough. One of the pros when adopting quiet quitting in the workforce, especially when it concerns you economically, would be that if you are in a predicament where your wage would suffice the minimum requirement of your job, then it wouldn't take a toll as much on your well-being, and also you would get to explore other options in terms of trying to build yourself up financially. However, from looking at the entire collective economic recovery, this might have more negative impacts in the sense that lesser labor means lesser profit, which would mean economically we will slow down. Kevin O'Leary, for example, would agree that quiet quitting isn't really a good idea. He says quiet quitting is a really bad idea, and it's true for multiple reasons. Employers value hungry, keen workers, people who go above and beyond to solve problems for the organization. Their teams, their managers, and their bosses are the ones who succeed in life, says O'Leary. O'Leary himself has stated that he seeks employees who are willing to work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. You must have a solid financial foundation in order to choose how you want to organize your life and days. He thinks that limiting the number of hours you work per day is not conducive to the kind of success that brings that freedom. Well, I guess we all understand that the usual corporate work environment is like the survival of the fittest. O'Leary does have a point, as his perspective is relevant and reflective of capitalist corporate America. As I mentioned earlier, the C-19 took a toll on probably most of us, and now for many workplaces it has become quite the norm now. People see quiet and quitting and think it's about quitting, but what quiet quitting really means is someone who has decided, I want to prioritize my overall well-being and things outside of work. Elise Friedman, senior client partner at consulting firm Korn Ferry, told CBS Money Watch. And yet, she noted, this is not the same as someone who is disengaged. Instead, it's about doing what is expected of them without volunteering for an ambitious project, agreeing to work nights and weekends, or otherwise going above and beyond in ways that Americans are traditionally encouraged to do, to demonstrate their worth to an employer. It's also not a random occurrence that the movement comes on the heels of the so-called Great Resignation, in which a record number of Americans give up or switched jobs. With employers having difficulty finding new hires, employees have gained more leverage to find better paying jobs, demand higher pay, and even unionize to push for better working conditions and benefits for the first time in years. Quiet quitting definitely could have the potential to be part of the new wave in a post-COVID corporate society. Although it is a new concept which has definitely dominated recently in workplaces. Its effects, especially in the long run, with an ongoing economic crisis, surely would definitely take quite a hit in many aspects. However, on the other side of the spectrum, it could also hear out the perspective of the tired worker and how they too would need reforms on their end of the bargain, in their respective workplaces. If you liked that video, double subscribe, double peace out.